I'm focused on this theory cause it keeps me from this fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barton watching Black Teen News. Hello, welcome to Black Teen News. I'm your host, Christina Barton. Today we're going to be talking about how we talked yesterday about how Kamala Harris just, janked or whatever, just stole no tax on tips. Well, the White House was asked about it, and now they're just like, oh, we always supported things like no tax on tips. And I heard her say that, the press secretary, and I screamed in my car. I just can't believe how much these people lie. They lie so much. And then on top of that, the media was upset that Elon Musk did an interview with Donald Trump yesterday. And you had reporters from like the Washington Post talking to the White House, wanting them to censor Elon Musk, and people mad because, there's going to be all this misinformation, knowing good and well that Kamala Harris posts misinformation on Twitter. One of the things recently, the very fine people hoax. The very freaking fine people hoax that has been debunked and debunked and debunked over and over and over again. And they dare to push it once more. I don't understand people who want to be this stupid. And I don't like generalizing a lot of people, whatever, but I don't understand. There's so many lies. They don't know who this woman is, and they support. And as soon as you just spend a little bit of time on the internet, you can easily find so much information from past policies that are insane things that she's totally flipped on 180 through her aides, not even through herself. So we'll talk about this stuff. Oh my gosh, it's just insane. Anyway, before we jump into it, I'm gonna encourage you guys to go to blackteennews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blackteennews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream and it costs to run my website. So if you can support in that way, I very much do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available at blackteennews.com. That's available, like different t-shirts and different mugs as well. Like we got the "You Are Not That Special." We got the pumpkin spice mugs that are available too. We got the black tea mug also. Just all kinds of stuff you guys can check out. So go ahead and check out stuff at the store. Thank you to those who are watching live, those of you who watch back. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats. I will read the super chats as long as they are not like gross or something, but I don't think anyone's ever done that. So no one's put me in that kind of position before. So thank you guys for being such great listeners and viewers. So anyway, I don't think I have any announcements. I am still doing Motor City Comic Con later in the year, if you're in the Metro Detroit area. And I'm also going to be doing the Carrington Town Book Fest. That's I think it's in November. So that's going to be like an Ann Arbor area. So, if you're in the Michigan area, that's where I'll be doing some of those things. But if there's anything else, We got somebody from Detroit, a fellow Michigander, Pinecone 13. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hello. I just mentioned some Michigan events, so I'll be around. Well, I am around because that's the area where I live. Okay, let's jump to it. So you guys know yesterday we talked about the no tax on tips thing. And a lot of different commentators are talking about this today because I've already watched 2 different broadcasts that have mentioned it, but I got to talk to you guys about it. Okay. So I'm going to show you some clips again that you've already seen. So first, we'll go back in time. Now, we don't have to go too far back in time because Trump has talked about this a lot. It's not like he's only talked about it at one rally. Trump has been advertising no tax on tips. People have been going to different restaurants, writing on their bills, no, vote Trump, no tax on tips. If you do that, please do not leave bad tips, guys. Leave good tips if you're going to do that. I know somebody who got special made stamps so they can just no tax on tips when they go out to eat. So this is a big thing that they're pushing because obviously people want less taxes. Now, I will say, in general, I don't see why only people who live basically off tips, why they're the only ones who should get the break in the income. If we shouldn't be taxing that, then why tax income at all? Why tax income at all? And so I don't think it should be particularly special. I understand the pandering thing a bit, and if you could do it a little bit, I guess get away with it, then you could try. But I think ultimately the thing that we should be shooting for, if it's best to not tax people on their income so they can have more of their money, is just to not tax people's income. And I'm sure waitresses and waiters and stuff are very excited about that with a no tax on the tips. I'm assuming that's going to be the same for Uber drivers and Door Dashers and all that stuff. Those industries that California, where Kamala Harris is from, want to destroy. So, so all her shift is very curious. But anyway, Donald Trump has been saying no tax on tips. He said he got the idea from a waitress. So I'm going to play this clip back in the day. Donald Trump, no tax on tips.
I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. We're not going to do it, and we're going to do that right away, first thing in office, because it's been a point of contention for years and years and years, and you do a great job of service. You take care of people. And I think it's going to be something that really is deserved. More importantly, popular or unpopular. I do some unpopular things, too, if it's right for the country. I do what's right. But so those people that have jobs in restaurants, whatever the job may be, a tipping job, we're not going after for taxes anymore. This will be ended.
So, again, I don't see why you just wouldn't, if the goal is to just let more people keep their own money, just get rid of income tax. But I heard that Trump was floating that around. I didn't see that clip, but was kind of floating the idea of not doing income tax and just moving to a tariff sort of system, because we didn't always have income tax anyway. So if he moves to that, it'll be interesting if Kamala suddenly moves to that. And if they do move to that, I think they should call up Speaker Johnson on the phone and say, get a bill done tomorrow and make sure you get all the Republicans to vote on it. And we're going to just repeal income tax and see, do something, pass something, and call their bluff. Call their freaking bluff. Because the Biden administration, they don't support this stuff. They're the party of taxing you more so they can pay for their social programs and bribe you. Now, I'm not saying they don't want to bribe people with a no tax on tips, but they definitely don't have to follow through. So here's Kamala Harris taking that idea recently.
Including to raise the minimum wage. and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
So that was wild, and we showed that yesterday. Okay, so what really boggled my mind, and I heard this clip, someone played it. I was watching Ben Shapiro show and he played it. I just about yelled out in my car, and I'm like, these are the most lioness folks I've ever heard in my life. So here's the press secretary talking about no tax on tips.
Over the weekend, Vice President said she would, she followed former President Donald Trump in saying she would support a proposal that would not tax tip wages. If similar bill made its way to the President of the United States, President Biden, would he sign that? But that's something he's embraced before.
Oh, absolutely. Look, this is something that the president supports. He supports eliminating taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Over the weekend,
When, where, who, what, why is Gamora? This has never happened. There's never been any indication of that. Kamala Harris is the one who signed. She had to vote in a tie-breaking vote for the American Rescue Plan and the Inflation Reduction Act, which did a bunch of funding so they could hire a bunch of different IRS people. And it's not just crack down on people making over $400,000. It's a crackdown on everybody. Now, when Biden was running, he started saying, oh, we want to relieve, forgive mortgages. I think he said something about he'd take his student debt and mortgages, and they're just dishing out candy everywhere they could to bribe people to vote for them. And in my mind, I'm just like, why not forgive people's outstanding tax burdens, or just chill out on the taxes or whatever? Why not do that? People made an agreement to pay back the student loans. People signed contracts for their mortgages and stuff. But who agrees to pay taxes? Let's do that, or you go to jail. I mean, I guess you sign papers when you get your job so they can, know how much to take out and so on. And then you file your taxes, and if you owe, you pay, or whatever. But why not have some kind of relief there? This is a party of, we want to tax you more and lie about it if we can help it. They don't mind saying tax the rich because they like playing the whole class warfare game, and they know they got to tax somebody, but they want to tax you too. That's why they're looking after your Cash App and your Venmo and all these places where, maybe people who did side hustles kind of did stuff under the table or whatever. That they want to look into all that stuff now. Because they're chasing after that money. So if you genuinely believe that they want to do no tax on tips, I'm not saying it's not impossible that Kamala wants to do it. But here's the thing now. Now you have Joe Biden's, his press secretary saying, oh yeah, Joe Biden supports no tax on tips. Sure, yeah, well, yeah. And it's the Republicans. There's other clips it's the Republicans saying that that they're the ones who wouldn't, stand by and with the Democrats as they're trying to do this different stuff and stand with these policies. Since when did you propose something that was no tax on tips? It didn't happen. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's the opposite of that thing, to be frank. Let me see if this
over
is
the weekend. Vice President said she followed.
I think that's the same clip. There's another clip.
Trump was the first to endorse eliminating taxes on tips. He's accusing Vice President Harris of stealing his idea. So did she get this idea from Trump?
Look, I'm not going to respond to a President presidential candidate. I think their campaign could speak to that directly. What I can say is this president, this vice president have always had the backs of the working people, always. And you see that in the policies that they put forward, everything that we have put forward, historic pieces of legislation that are obviously now laws, are helping middle-class workers, are helping people, just
How?
people in different
Where?
communities that are normally,
Who?
again, left behind.
Yeah.
Trump was the first to force
Why is
eliminating
Gamora
taxes.
like? Oh boy. So anyway, I just the boldness of these people, to just. And you get Time Magazine putting out puff pieces for Kamala Harris, who won't even sit down and do an interview with them. She's not talking to anybody, and they all just let them get away with it while just sending them glowing reviews and defending them. Guys, come on. So the question is, why won't they push it? If Joe Biden supports no tax on tips right now, Kamala Harris supports no tax on tips. They're both in the White House. Why not push it now? Why do we have to wait? People need money for Christmas. People need money for Thanksgiving. People need relief now. There's so many people hurting right now, today, and they're telling you what they're going to do in 5 months in the future. And by the way, do you guys remember? I never forgot this. Do you guys remember after Joe Biden won and they were trying to win the runoff? They're trying to win the runoff in Georgia, and they said vote for Ossoff and vote for Warnock. And if you vote for them, you're going to get a check of like, was it $1,200 or something like that? I don't remember exactly what the number was, but they did not do that. Biden still owes you money right freaking now. They didn't do that. And so I think they just sent out like $600 or $800, something like that. And they're like, oh, well, the American people already got a stimulus check before, so we're just like giving you the rest of it. And I'm like, you can't piggyback off of what Trump did. That's a whole different man. A whole different man made a different promise, and you gave us less money. Now they spent way too much money during the pandemic and other stuff like that. So I'm not. But I don't understand why they're willing to pass so much stuff and give so much money to their fund, their projects, their pet projects, and their lobby friends and favors like that, but to lie to the American people about it. I'm gonna have to go back and look at my different clips. I know I did videos on it, but I can't remember all the numbers off the top of my head. But they were supposed to pay out like $1,200 and they didn't. They paid like $600. Or maybe they said $1,400 and they gave us $8. And they still owe $6. It's something like that. They still owe. And then they just tried to pretend like, oh, we just, we just needed to make up the difference from what, that last stimulus check that Trump gave. Again, that was a whole different man. Maybe was it 2,000 and they gave us 1,200? Was that what it was? I don't remember. 1,200 and gave us 600. That's what somebody in the comments are saying. It was insane, because that's Warnock and them were saying, as soon as we get in there, you're going to get this money. You're going to get this money. You're going to get this money. And then they didn't. And I didn't understand why that was a particular campaign promise that they decided to break. Because if you're going to spend all that money, why be cheap with the American people after you campaigned? So I think I got to go back and find those clips and revisit that. Because if you want to talk about promises people didn't keep, they're talking about they didn't send that direct money to your pocket that they're supposed to send. And you think that they're going to do no tax on tips? Okay. Okay. And again, I don't think it's a great idea just to do the no tax on tips anyway, and just ignore the fact that what about everyone else's income? What about everyone else's income? Anyway, yesterday Donald Trump did a space with Elon Musk, and it started really late because they had different problems. I thought maybe it was crashing because there's too many people on. Elon Musk said that they were being like cyber attacked and stuff. I don't know what's what, but they were on there for a while talking. And before all this happened, though, you had the media flipping out because they did not think that it should happen. I guess they were concerned about Donald Trump having all that reach, and Elon Musk not fact checking him, which is just freaking rich. It's freaking rich. So I want to show you guys a video of a Washington Post journalist asking this question at the White House. This is kind of nuts to me.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's a America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you've heard us talk about this many times from here about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. These are private companies, so we're also mindful of that too. But look, it is. I think it is incredibly important to call that out as you're doing. I just don't have any specifics on what we have been doing internally as it relates to the interviews. Not something that I'm tracking, and I'm sure the president's not tracking it either.
That's a little at the end there. You don't have anything specific written out about what you're doing internally. So is there something that you were trying to do internally to stop this? I hope the answer is no, but we do know that the Biden White House, or just the government in general, because some of this was going on, I think probably behind Trump's back when he was president, people trying to censor stuff on Twitter. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, he basically, had a graveyard with dead bodies on cover, like with all of this information, with how folks were suppressed because they didn't like what they said about COVID and other stuff like that. So they did the Twitter file stuff, and some of it was, I thought, pretty damning, but they tried to do a misinformation czar, and that got shut down really quick because people were horrified of the idea of that. So the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, by the way, being upset and saying, what is the White House going to do? Misinformation, it's not really a campaign issue. It's an American issue. First of all, they post some of the craziest stuff, especially about like the Israel-Gaza stuff that shows up in the Washington Post. But these people allow Joe Biden to lie all of the time. All of the time. A great thing about X, and I've mentioned this many times before, is that when people put out misinformation, people can do the community notes. So if you try to lie, someone will do a community note, and as it's being retweeted or whatever, people will be alerted if they retweeted something that was false. And it's like, by the way, a community note was added to this. So if they try to say something that was a lie about, like, Donald Trump says he wants there's going to be a bloodbath if he loses the election, there could be a community note that says he was talking about the financial repercussions of the auto industry because of the Biden administration and their bad policies. Like, that could be added. So that's a really great thing that Elon Musk did for Twitter, but just allowing people to be able to speak freely about different topics and about different news and it not being suppressed. The fact that the Hunter Biden laptop story got suppressed and the oldest paper in the country, New York Post, got suppressed, and their account got, was not hidden, but they couldn't post. It was locked and people couldn't share stuff like on, in private messages about it was insane. And it was true. It was true. And people say, oh, it wasn't a big deal. If it wasn't a big deal, you wouldn't have done what you did. You wouldn't have done what you did. So it's incredible to me. And that reporter wasn't the only one, but a reporter groveling to the White House. What are you guys going to do about misinformation? It's not their job to block. It's literally not their job. It's something they're not supposed to do because they're limited, supposed to be limited by the Constitution about them trying to block free speech here. Okay? Lies are, you can't slander someone meaning to harm them or whatever, which CNN is finding out because they're being, sued for defamation. And but people can say things on the internet that aren't true. And campaigns can say stuff on the internet that's not true. And Kamala Harris does it all the time. Kamala Harris does it all the time. As a matter of fact, on X, on the platform that they're complaining about, they once again pushed the very fine people hoax. Joe Biden has said this in interviews after interviews, and I've heard so many. He sat there and lied repeatedly about the fine people hoax, about the bloodbath hoax, things that I've debunked. I have a video on YouTube. It's the top 10 Trump hoaxes. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. I cover the most 10 damaging, and I do mention the bloodbath hoax thing a little bit, but it's not one of the main ones. But the very fine people hoax is in there. The very fine people hoax is in there. And Kamala Harris and them, they're still pushing it. So this is a tweet. I'm not even going to bother playing their video, but 7 years ago, white supremacists and neo-Nazis marched on Charlottesville chanting racist and anti-Semitic bile. And so that's still Joe Biden's wording and stuff. Because he says the same sort of speech every time he brings it up, and killing an innocent woman. This is who Donald Trump calls very fine people. So that is a lie. That is a lie. And it's always been a lie. Even Jake Tapper and Snopes and other folks have acknowledged that this is a lie, that Donald Trump said, I'm not talking about neo-Nazis. I condemn them totally. It was always in the original audio at the original press conference. I've seen some people look at the video recently and say, I don't remember this. Was this added on, or was this no, you were just so emotionally compromised and your feelings were too loud that you couldn't just hear the facts. Okay. You got to turn down your feelings and think critically sometimes, because he did condemn neo-Nazis. And I remember when that first happened, I was actually at a, I was living my best life kind of that day. I went to an author convention thing and sold some books. And then I went to a ninja competition. So that was awesome. And then I came back to the real world and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with people? What is happening? And then I went to work. I still worked for the Michigan Republican Party on Monday, and people were talking about it and how wild it was. But it seemed like, and not necessarily I'm talking about my job or whatever, but the atmosphere was, even if you tried to defend Trump on it, even if you were on the right a little bit, people would come at you. People had such a visceral reaction to it. And I can understand people being very emotional about it, but people were just not logical at all. And it took a while for even people to push back and debunk against stuff that Trump was saying, even though it was all right there originally in the audio. Scott Adams, the Dilbert creator, I credit him a lot for, unwinding a lot of people's brains who had extreme Trump derangement syndrome around that. And all he did was post a screenshot of the transcript and highlight it. And that's gone around a lot. And he clearly didn't call the neo-Nazis very fine people. But Joe Biden, he launched his campaign on a video saying that Donald Trump called them very fine people, and saying, well, this is why I had to run to save the soul of the nation. And so he repeated that on the debate stage. It's still not true. No matter how many times he says it, it's still not true. And Kamala Harris in the campaign is still doing the same thing. So I would not be surprised if she got on the debate stage with Donald Trump and accused him of the same thing. And she doesn't care that she's lying. They don't care. They don't care that they lie. You guys got to know they don't care that they're lying. If you go back to Kamala Harris and when she called Joe Biden like a, well, she didn't call him a white supremacist, but she accused him of like trying to stop her from integrating in schools, essentially calling him a segregationist, a racist segregationist. Okay. You can read between the lines. And when she was named as VP, Colbert said, wow, you really went after him though during the debate. And so he's just kind of like trying to square that circle of how she could say all this terrible stuff about him. And now she's a VP and she just laughs. And she's like, it was a debate. We were at a debate and we had a debate. And so the answer to all that is we were playing a game and I knew the rules. And the rules are make your opponent look as terrible as possible. It doesn't matter if you're not telling the truth. And I just can't live that way personally. I don't, I know there's a lot of people who spread lies and do whatever in politics, anything to win. Harry Reid lied about Mitt Romney not paying his taxes. And he didn't care that it wasn't true. He's very proud of the fact that he got away with it and Mitt Romney didn't win. He's like, he didn't win, so I don't care. Good. He lost. So they don't care that they're not being honest with the American people. They don't respect the American people enough to be honest with them. They don't respect the press to be honest with them. They know they're going to be lapdogs anyway and do whatever it is that they want them to do. They don't respect themselves enough to be honest. So they'll just keep lying because they can get away with it, apparently. Now, my question to the American people is, why are you letting them get away with it? I know politicians lie, and they lie all the time. I think Trump largely speaks in the most extreme kind of hyperbole, but he lies too. Everybody lies, okay? Not everybody lies, but most people lie, especially in politics, okay? But this is a very serious lie. This is a very serious lie. Has done extraordinary damage to our country, the psyche of the nation. It's so much division that there's so many people who think that Trump could say that neo-Nazis are very fine people, and so many people would know that and vote for him anyway. That does extraordinary damage to the country. And Joe Biden should pay for that. And Kamala Harris should pay for that. So my question is, when are we going to hold them accountable for their lies? Again, this is a really serious lie. The bloodbath lie, that one's really serious too. Because, I mean, it's really dumb because you could just look at the context and easily know how they're trying to portray it isn't true. But the fact that they're trying to make it seem like Donald Trump is going to like wage physical violence with his supporters if he doesn't win the election is insane. It's insane. And you can say, well, look at January 6th. Yeah, that was a riot and that was insane. But he didn't call people to action to actually hurt people that day. They're saying that Donald Trump is out there promising that they are going to physically commit violence against the American people if he doesn't win. And that's just not the truth. And it's very easily not the truth if you go look at the actual clips. But they cut those up and they put them in ads to run in places like Georgia. Or when Joe Biden sits down for an interview and he says it to the people interviewing them, and they don't check him for his misinformation. It's not even fair to call it misinformation. It's just a lie. It's just a lie. And I've had enough of these people. I really have. It's so extraordinary. It's so extraordinary. So I want to talk about David French for a minute. David French has lost his mind. Let me read this statement from Harris Wall's campaign about Elon Musk. Donald Trump's extremism and dangerous Project 2025 agenda, which is not his agenda, is a feature, not a glitch, of his campaign, which was on full display for those unlucky enough to listen in tonight during whatever was on the X.com. Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024. How come Kamala Harris doesn't run a live stream? Apparently they did try to get on different streamers shows, and they're the goofy podcasts, and they're just like, no, what are you doing calling me? We don't talk politics. And that's probably why they were maybe comfortable doing that after Trump did his like huge stream about a week or so ago. So I wanted to, anyway, let's go to David French. David French, he's supposed to be conservative, and he is supporting Kamala Harris and to save democracy, I guess. I don't know. It's so stupid. I can understand not wanting to support Trump and leave it blank, or vote for someone who you put in someone else's name. But I don't understand how broken people like this are. Because Kamala Harris is as left as you can go. Harris Walls, that ticket is a Marxist ticket. Like, we are gonna be putting like socialists like in the White House if if they win. And I'm not being hyperbolic, you know. So if you're really concerned about the future of the country, he's wise enough to know better. This sort of derangement, for what for? For the likes and the clicks? Like, in here he is talking on MSNBC, where you got to be the left of the left of the left. I mean, you don't have to be the left of the left of the left to go on there, but that is that audience. So is this just pandering to that audience because you've made a name for yourself being the rational sort of conservative that's going to speak out against Donald Trump to save conservatism from itself? So let's just watch a snippet.
Then if you've been a lifelong Republican, I've got news for you. This party is not the party you grew up with. And it's surprising to me how few people I encounter just in daily life who have fully absorbed that reality.
So you're saying you're going to vote for her. Does that send a message? If she wins and Donald Trump loses again, if Republicans potentially lose the Senate, they lose the House, you think that's going to send a message?
It will send a message. Now, who knows if it's received? There's a difference between sending a message and absorbing a message. It would absolutely send a message that the path of MAGA is a path of electoral ruin.
So I can understand this line of thought if the thought was to just leave it blank, though. Like, just because you want to teach everybody a lesson, but why support? Because you're responsible for supporting who you support. So if you you take your ballot and you check her name or fill out the bubble, fill out the square. Ballots are different everywhere. It's even across the same state, the ballots will be different. It's kind of wild. When I had to do the recount and saw the different kind of ballots, how they looked. So if you support Kamala and then go on MSNBC to talk about how you're going to support Kamala, you own that stuff, man. You own that stuff. Again, I can understand if you're just going to say, I'm going to leave it blank, and that's how we're going to send the message. But to sign your name to her is insane. Why not vote for, the third party candidate? Why not do that? We're writing somebody's name. All that will send a message. Democrats were so mad about Jill Stein and all that stuff. Third party people, they're still mad about it. Why support her? Why support her? People receive the message one way or another. But why support her? For praise, for claps, for clicks. Because it's not out of conservatism. It's not out of conservatism, bruh. It can't be. I just don't understand. Kamala Harris, her father was a Marxist. Kamala Harris is, unburdened by what has been. That's not a word salad. It's Marxist jargon. She talks all the time about why we need equity instead of equality. We need equity so we can all end up in the same place. You cannot all end up in the same place unless you rig the game. Because even if everyone starts off at the same place, people have different intuitions, people have different drives, people have different passions, people have different talents. So everyone can't end up at the same place unless you rig the game. Kamala Harris is talking about going after, prosecuting people over prices of food and prices of rent and other things like that. It kind of sounds like she wants to control the means of production. She has talked about destroying private health care. And she wants everyone to have universal health care. And she's willing to destroy the private market to do it. Green New Deal. She picked Tim Walz. Tim Walz said that one man's socialism is another man's neighborliness. Granted that this man had neighbors snitching on each other, which, by the way, there was a woman who they put in jail during COVID, and she's speaking out against him. Let me see if I have the ad. Fox News. Minnesota grandma jailed for defying Walz COVID lockdown orders. You do not want tyranny at this level. Lisa Hansen warns Americans against electing Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as VP. He will take your rights away. This is the same guy going around saying, mind your business, mind your business. Lisa Hansen, a former wine and coffee bistro owner thrown into jail for violating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's lockdown orders, told Fox News Digital that the now Democrat vice presidential candidate essentially shut down and destroyed her small business, warning Americans, you do not want tyranny at this level. A mother of 8 children and soon to be 18 grandchildren, Hansen said, besides a speeding ticket she received as a teenager, she has always been a law-abiding citizen and owned businesses with her husband for more than 30 years. At the time of the COVID-19 pandemic was in full swing in 2020, Hansen said the Interchange Wine and Coffee Bistro in Albert Lea, about 90 minutes south of Minneapolis, had been open for 8 years. Her wine and coffee bistro initially complied with the shutdown ordered that March. However, Hansen said she watched for months afterward as Walz never fully reopened the state when it came to businesses deemed non-essential, such as the bars, restaurants, gyms, dance studios, and hair salons. By contrast, the governor never shut down liquor stores, big box stores, or even strip clubs. Why are the strip clubs open? You mind your business. Okay, Tim Walz. You shut down a lot of the mom and pop shops, those folks that were just trying to make a living and provide a great product and a great service, Hansen told Fox News Digital. In contrast, he allowed big box stores, etc., to stay open. Really incredible. And an incredible use of tyranny against the people. Hansen eventually decided to reopen her business and defied Walz's renewed shutdown ordered for bars and restaurants 6 times between December 2020 and January 2021. She was convicted in December 2021 on a misdemeanor charges and received the maximum sentence of 90 days and a $1,000 fine. Hansen ended up serving 2/3 of her sentence, 60 days. Wow. This is a story that America needs to hear, that Tim Walz is not some cuddly, joyful coach like all the things that the mainstream media are calling him. Hansen told Fox News Digital. That is not who this man is. This man would like to take your rights away. He will take your rights away because what happened to me could have happened to anybody. What happened to me will happen to you. My family has paid a dear price. While I was in jail, I missed out on Christmas with my family. I missed out on my wedding anniversary. And I also missed out on the birth of one of my grandchildren, Hansen said. I can never have that time back. That time was stolen from me. My business was destroyed. My business is gone. After everything that happened, Tim Walz and Keith Ellison destroyed my business. That wrecked my life. I've heard some people say that Tim Walz is a real nice guy. Well, he's not. Take my word for it, Hansen said. Through this whole process, I've gotten to know other people. Similar things have happened to them when they were trying to run their business and survive, mostly women, by the way. So Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison really like to go after women. They're bullies. They're bullies, and they like to go after women and torment and destroy women's lives. This is what they have done in the state of Minnesota. So let America know, you do not want Tim Walz as vice president. You do not want tyranny at this level. She continued, I have seen firsthand, we the people of Minnesota have seen what Tim Walz, the type of evil he orchestrates. If he is elected as vice president of this country, he, in lockstep with Harris, who is also evil, will perpetuate the same type of evil on the American people. We do not want that. So this is the truth about Tim Walz. I would like to see Tim Walz impeached. I would like to see him prosecuted for the crimes he's committed against the people of Minnesota, Hansen said. When Walz issued a November 2020 executive order that again shuttered dine-in services 100% for both indoor and outdoor bars and restaurants in the state, Hansen said she joined a group of nearly 200 fellow business owners called Open Minnesota, believing the governor, supported by Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, was operating in a rogue fashion outside the law. We had God-given constitutionally protected rights to be open. There was no statute. There was no law that allowed Governor Walz to do what he did. He really did step outside of the statutory law, but even more important, constitutional law, Hansen said, because we have the right to be able to run our businesses and conduct our lives as we see fit, of course, staying within the rule of law. We have a corrupt government that's coming against us and saying you do not have the right to run your business. She said that is not a republic. That is not how the republic acts. It's a dictatorship. Hansen described to Fox News Digital the important of the moment she learned Walz had been selected as Vice President Harris' running mate. Honestly, my feelings should not have been a surprise, but because of what I know about Tim Walz, because of the tyrant that I know he is, he's wrecked so many lives in the state of Minnesota. He's not done wrecking lives. He's going to continue to wreck lives, Hansen said. I don't use that word loosely, evil, but the evil person that he is no wonder that the evil Harris picked him to be her running mate, Hansen said. Tim Walz has accomplished a lot of horrific things in the state of Minnesota in a very short amount of time, she said. Regarding the massive riots after George Floyd's death in Minneapolis, Hansen asked, where was our governor? Where was our governor when there was the looting and the burning down a fellow business owner and their businesses being burned down? Where was our governor? I have not been to Minneapolis since that took place, Hansen told Fox News Digital. I don't need to go up there. I've seen what Tim Walz allowed to happen to Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. That man is a wrecking machine. He needs to be stopped. There's a couple more paragraphs, but you guys get the gist. So as I'm reading this, Trump should get those people together, put them on a bus, and take them swing state to swing state. Pay them so they, can have some money and handle stuff back home, but put them on a bus. Have them campaign, send them to Michigan. We know what it's like to have tyrannical governors. It sounds like he was worse than ours. My gosh. They did arrest people, though, in Michigan. They did arrest 90 days, $1,000 fine. I don't know if someone was in jail for that long, though. I don't know. But they need to remind people of how awful that was. Send them to Arizona. Send them to Wisconsin. Send them to Pennsylvania. Send them wherever they can. These people who lost out on businesses because of Tim Walz, because of people like Kamala Harris and Biden, and people who lost their jobs because of the COVID mandate. People who, gosh, I don't know if Trump's going to want to do anything, though, with people who are injured by the vaccine, because that makes him look bad. He didn't force people to take it, but Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did coerce people into take it. So he could at least get people who lost their job, healthcare workers who lost their job, people who were forced out of the military. You know, they could do that. They could do that, but he's not going to tote around vaccine injured people. He likes to pretend there aren't any, so, which I'm not fond of. What the heck? I'm sorry. As I'm, let me just show you. As I was like exiting out of this page on Fox, it was like, before you leave, it showed me this headline. It says, Kesha says she didn't know prop knife was replaced by real butcher knife. I have no, during what? I don't even know what this is about, but what a during Lollapalooza performance. I don't know what she did with that knife. Well, I don't know how much of that blood is real fake. Okay. So I guess she didn't stab herself. Okay. She just had a knife and didn't know it was fake. Was real. Okay. I'm sorry. That caught my attention, Fox. I'm like, what? Anyway, before I let you guys go, I do want to talk about this abortion video that I mentioned the other day, but that I didn't get a chance to get into. But just some news here. Scoop per law enforcement sources this morning, ICE Boston found and arrested the Haitian migrant who was released on a $500 bail. $500 in June after being charged with raping a 15-year-old girl in a migrant hotel. He flew into the U.S. via Biden's mass parole program in 2023. Who puts people out on bail after raping a 15-year-old girl? Who does that? Who does that? Who does that? These people don't need to be deported. People like that need to be executed, man. Swiftly. Swiftly. Still give them due process, of course. But as Kareem said during the press conference, she said that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they're in sync. You know, they believe in the same things. So that's something, you know, put it on the list of things that they should press Kamala Harris about, that she's never going to allow them to, because she's not taking any interviews. And I don't know when she will. If she can go the whole campaign without doing it, she will. Which, by the way, it looked like Vivek was on the Breakfast Club. I saw a clip, and they were grilling Vivek Vivek on JD Vance flip-flopping and switching stuff up or whatever, and they're like, well, all politicians do it, and like y'all said y'all didn't like Trump, and then yeah, when y'all need to, y'all they put in pretty vulgar terms, but basically kiss his butt, but they did not say kiss his butt. And so Vivek was like, okay, fair enough. Like, would you say that it's fair that JD Vance answers questions about why he switched up? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, Kamala Harris needs to answer to the American people about why she switched up. Because JD Vance will sit down and talk about why he changed his opinions. And so I thought that was a fair answer from Vivek and a good answer from Vivek. I don't know how these people will treat JD Vance if he goes on the Breakfast Club. I think he can handle it though. But it's almost a shame though, because some people are just way too smart to go on that show. Like I thought Larry Elder, when he went on that show, he was just so beyond them intellectually. And they'd always want to, they might have some moments that were productive, and then they'd say something that just like made it gutter trash. But like Charlemagne, when he said, have you ever had a wake up, inward moment? And that's when something happens to you that's so blatantly kind of racist that it like shocks a black person who's not awake to being woke or something. And because they're trying to, check Larry Elder and check his blackness or whatever. And then he turned that on him and said, it seemed like you should have had your wake up, inward moment when Joe Biden said you ain't black if you don't vote for him. And that was such a great moment. I was listening to that broadcast while I was out driving, and then I gotta come home. I gotta come home and record a reaction because that was so good. I instantly came home and decided to record. It was so incredible. But I do think JD Vance should still go on the show and just be as prepared as he can be. But I think he can handle it. I don't know how well Trump would handle all that stuff, but I don't doubt maybe Kamala might end up going on the Breakfast Club to talk to them a bit, but they'll press her a little bit, but then they'll just, she has them on a leash too. She has them on a leash. So, and I could play different examples than I have in the past, but they like to pretend like they're all independent or whatever. But at the end of the day, who have you voted for? Democrats. I'm pretty sure you're going to support Kamala Harris, and it's not even a question. And there's nothing that Trump could probably say, or she could probably say, that would make you, deter from that path. But that doesn't mean that JD Vance wouldn't have a good opportunity talking to that audience and just setting some things into perspective. So I still think he should, but I came across that today, so I wanted to tell you guys. So anyway, I came across this video on Twitter or X a couple days ago, and this is a woman explaining why she wants to have an abortion and that she's going to be chronicling it. So here we go.
And okay, so I was not expecting my videos to reach this many people, but I'm so glad that they have. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I am pregnant. My husband and I are child-free, so we will not be keeping the baby. And I am documenting my abortion because I think it's important to destigmatize it, and it is healthcare, and I want to show how everyone should have access to this healthcare. So first of all, thank you everyone so much for your support. I am trying to read every comment that you leave. In particular, I want to thank everyone who reached out to me privately to tell me their own stories. This was what I wanted to do with these videos. I just wanted to normalize the conversation, destigmatize, and educate. And I want to thank everyone for trusting me with their stories and telling me. It's made me feel like, even though I've been very secure in my decision, it's even made me feel better seeing everyone else share their experience. As for the not so nice comments, I'm trying to delete them because while they don't realize it, and okay.
So they only uploaded a minute of it. So when people say that abortion is healthcare, because she said it's healthcare, that's what she said, those were her words. I want you to think about women like her, because that's what most people are talking about when they say abortion is healthcare. They do not mean that there's some kind of fatal diagnosis that it's going to die maybe like 10 minutes out, when it leaves the womb. They don't mean that they have a disability, which is gross in the eugenics anyway, when people decide to abort for those reasons because they have Down syndrome or something like that. And I don't really think people should euthanize their babies anyway. I think they deserve the dignity of I'm not saying it's not hard, wouldn't be hard, but I think babies deserve the dignity of a natural death. But she's just saying, I don't want children. So this is healthcare. And that's what it is. And guys, that is mostly what the issue is. And if you don't think that, you don't debate this issue enough and you don't talk to enough people. Because even people will say they'll go to the rape and the incest and the life of the mother. And you're like, okay, what if I grant all that stuff? And you're like, okay, well, what if they're just not ready? What if they might say they can't afford it or they're not ready. So any reason, essentially, she just doesn't want children. And you know what? She and her husband can still live child free or without the responsibility of raising the child. They could still put the child up for adoption. If they don't want to raise a child, they could leave them in safe harbor laws or whatever. They could go put the child in a hospital or fire station or whatever, and they'll find the child somewhere to live. There's 2 million people, I think, waiting to adopt a child. So she doesn't have to kill her child, her husband's child, in order to live a child-free life. But she has to have an abortion to alleviate the burden of having a live child out somewhere in the world. And that is what a lot of this is about, trying to alleviate the burden of having a live child somewhere in the world. Now, there's a lot of women who claim they're not ready. They're doing Planned Parenthood or whatever. They abort and they do actually have a child sometime later. She's saying she doesn't want kids. They want to live child free. And again, you can do that after the baby comes out of you alive and healthy, and you can put up for adoption or whatever. But she said this is healthcare. She did not list a legitimate health reason, but the reason why they say that it is healthcare is because the baby's obviously inside of their body. So this is evil. And I first saw, people were like reposting and stuff, and Abolition is Rising, I saw retweeted it. It was just kind of like, you really think women like these aren't culpable for their decisions when they have an abortion? That it's just the mean old abortion industry or mean old man who coerced her into the abortion? They always say don't treat women like the pro-life movement treats women like they're idiots. There are a lot of ignorant women who say the dumbest, untrue propaganda stuff. Saying it's healthcare is propaganda, but she flat out said, we don't want children. That's why we're having the abortion. And I want to destigmatize. She's doing it for the absolute most selfish reason. Just killing because it's unwanted. And she wants to destigmatize women killing their children for, I guess, a similar reason. This is evil. Again, when people say abortion is healthcare, this is who I want you to think about. This lady right here. You can I'm sure they'll trot out Kate Cox at the national convention. They trotted her out at the State of the Union. I'm sure they'll have her speak, or women like her speak at the Democrat convention to talk about how they couldn't get an abortion, even though their people wrote that it wasn't like imminent danger, and they didn't use the standard that was necessary for her to be able to have an abortion for medical. And she essentially wanted to save her C-section for a hypothetical child so she could have a brutal 20-week abortion on her baby that could have possibly lived. I don't know for how long, But babies with trisomy 18, they don't give them good care. A lot of people write them off. And I've read horror stories from parents who have to fight for a little bit of care for their kids. So maybe they would live longer if we had an attitude that didn't treat them like they already had a foot in the grave. But I'm sure they'll point out stories like that. They're not going to point out women like this. But when women say that abortion is healthcare, it's women like her. It's women like her that they're fighting for, because the very, very rare cases, we're talking about, like, I don't know, between rape, incest, life of the mother, that's not even like 5%, I don't think. It's not even like 5%. So it's her. It's women like her. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost to stream and run and all that good stuff. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the website as well. I very much appreciate that. Like, I do have some pro-life stuff, different pro-life stuff. And again, got the My Money, My Business shirt, got the black tea, got the You Are Not That Special. I also have those in the little mugs as well. So check out different stuff at the store. You guys can also check out different books that I have written as well. I have 18 altogether. 2 are nonfiction, the rest are fiction. And so just a little heads up, I will be re-releasing my book, of course, God Is Blatantly Against Abortion. I added some stuff to it, so it's like going to be a second edition. I'm still going to keep the same cover, but because the cover is great. My sister did a great job with that. So I've added a new chapter. I've added just a lot of sections and portions and paragraphs and stuff. I think it's about maybe 30 pages longer than it was before. So I'll tell you guys when the new version is available. I thank you to all of you who got the first one. And yeah, so I'll let you know when that drops. But thank you guys so much. God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow.